Welcome to this podcast is making me thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This episode 126.
Wow.
Today's guest has been in more than 50 television shows and films, including The Sopranos, Mike and Molly, The Bronx is Burning, and Blue Bloods. He's a co-creator, executive producer, and stars in the AMC series Cooper's Bar. And of course, he played Jerry's neighbor Phil in the season 9 episode of Seinfeld, The Strongbox. Please welcome Lou Mustillo. Lou, thanks for joining.
My pleasure, guys. Very happy to be here.
Buffalo's native son, welcome to the program. So, Lou, take us back 24 years ago, if you can believe it.
Yes.
The Strongbox aired on Thursday night at NBC.
Yes.
What? Tell us a little bit about how the role of Phil came about. Obviously, the neighbor that lived next to Jerry for all those years without him knowing. But would love to hear a little bit about the audition process, kind of how you got the role, any connections to Seinfeld would be great.
Yeah. I had, I loved the show, and it was the final season, and I hadn't been on it. I think I auditioned one other time for it. So I went in for Phil, and there's the sides were the scene on the elevator after they locked me out of the building. So the first scene we read was them locking me out of the building, and then the second scene we read was the elevator scene. And I think they enjoyed the way I said yeah when he asks me, so you live in the building? Yeah. So it got laughs at the audition. It got laughs. And, I was, as always, you wait to see if they want you to give you any notes or do it again. And Jerry was in the room along with Dan O'Keefe, who wrote it.
Yeah.
And they were, no, great, perfect, and Mark Hirschfeld, and I said, you sure? And they were, no, beautiful. We loved it. And so later on that day, I believe, I got the call that I got it. Now, I was very excited. There were some great people in that episode too. I mean, Ileana Douglas, who was an old friend of mine. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts with her. So that was really fun to have her on the show. And what it was also too is Dan and these guys went on to do Veep. Billy Kimball.
Mm-hmm.
They went on to do wonderful writers. They went on to do Veep and a bunch of stuff. They had come up and said the only unfortunate thing about this is this guy would have been great if he came around like 3 years earlier.
Yeah.
Because, he would have been a great, they could have busted this guy's balls for years, get a new parrot. They could have killed his second parrot, who knows? But, but that was the conversation. Like, damn, this character is a really great character as the guy a couple of doors down. And they actually even talked about, maybe we could come by the end of the season, see this guy again. And of course, I wasn't expecting that to happen because I'm sure they were backed up on storyline, as terms of the final season. But,
the Strongbox was one of the last episodes. I think it was like the 8th to last, actually.
Yeah.
So they you got on just in time, which is great. That first scene is so good. It's really, it's in your facial expressions. It really would get me every time. Just the deadpan look straight ahead on the elevator, and then when you get to the door, and Jerry's like, "Well, I'll see you," and then the door just slams, like you just slam it shut. I was wondering if that was that sort of like that. I don't know if you remember, but was that part of when did that part of the shut the door on Jerry saying like I'll see you around? Was that script? Was that you guys working it out? Was it director?
Yeah, that was Andy Ackerman. I remember him saying, "Don't even let him get just slam it in his face." Also, they kept the first take, at that door, and Jason wonderfully closed the door slowly like sort of played it like, yeah, we're not letting you, and I lean forward and my nose goes like this on the glass. So it really was this wonderful accident because it's hysterical. It looks really funny when, the nose goes off to one side, it was really great. Yeah.
Yeah, such a fun episode. And yeah, we spoke with Dan O'Keefe, who wrote the show. Alex Kapp was a part of that episode as well.
Yeah, when
she was kind of talking to the fruit. To your point, a lot of great actors on that episode.
Yeah, she went on to do the old adventures, the new adventures of
Old
Christine. Yeah,
with Julia. Yeah, it's incredible how the connections never stop, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of that, so you said you auditioned in the past. Do you remember what that was for, or what season?
You know what? I don't remember what character it was, and I was thinking about this all day today, and I couldn't come up with it. I couldn't.
I'm trying to picture who it would have been. I mean, because listen, Hirschfeld typically gets everything right. He got it right with you with Phil.
Oh, he's one of the great casting directors. Lieberman, Hirschfeld they were great to me over the years in terms of pilots and the whole. Mag Lieberman was always wonderful to me, and so was Mark. And they're great casting directors.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And we've heard kind of from casting directors to you mentioned Ackerman to the Big Four, how gracious they were. But you were there during a really unique period, right? 8th to last episode of Seinfeld. Yeah. I mean, what do you kind of remember about the vibe and kind of how people were acting those last couple, I guess, months of the show?
I will say without hesitation that they were kind and humble and welcoming. And I won't mention, but I've been on other shows that have been way lesser hits, but way lesser hits than Seinfeld, and did not get the same treatment. So
you're talking about Night Court, Lou, right? Night Court. We've heard that.
We've heard about Night Court not being the best.
Night Court. The last season of Night Court, it wasn't an easy place to be. Although John Larroquette was wonderful to me when we started filming it, and it wasn't the friendly. Harry Anderson was sweet, but it wasn't the the Seinfeld was a much more warm, welcoming for being in their final season. And what I found really incredible is that Michael Richards would still spend a good amount of time doing his entrances, the sliding entrances.
Yeah.
Like I sat there one day with a cup of coffee and just watched him for 5 minutes, opening the door, sliding in, going back around, opening the door, sliding in. So he was still doing that. I thought it was very noble that the guy was still, not resting on his.
Right. This is like end of 9 seasons. He's still doing it. It's incredible. Yeah. The devotion to the craft. Yeah, that's incredible.
And everybody was great. I mean, everybody was really funny and telling stories about, and I remember Seinfeld said the most interesting thing. And there's always that, because New York has always been my base. And, you're forced to have to go out in Los Angeles because there was so much more work out there. So I would go out at stretches at a time, rent places from friends. And, but I really can't live out there full time. I don't know. I've had friends who have gone out there, left their apartment in New York. They love it. They got a backyard. They're happy. I always have to have this New York thing. So I asked Seinfeld, I remember asking him, because there's always that conversation about New York, LA, New York, LA. And I asked him, now, in terms of work, there's enough work here. It's kind of balancing out. So it's great. But I asked him, you could do the show anywhere at this point. You live in New York. why didn't you just go there and do the final seasons in New York? And he said, because I'm here 14 hours a day. And if I was in New York doing this, I would be thinking all day, what am I missing? And I know in Los Angeles, I'm not missing anything. And I thought, boy, that's an interesting way of putting it. And I've quoted him numerous times,
Yeah, that is it. Yeah. I think he's back in New York now. It's funny. You mentioned Jerry and the rest of the crew, but Larry David, he wasn't technically there in season 9. We've heard stories that he has been on set even in 8 and 9 when he wasn't technically running the show anymore. Yeah. But we know you were also in Curb, like the second episode, I think, ever of Curb you were in.
Yeah, I was.
So I was wondering how that happened. Was it just through auditioning for Curb, or did you know Larry? Was Larry in the set at Seinfeld? Just kind of curious there.
I think Larry had seen the episode. Okay. And I knew Jeff a little bit from a pilot years ago. And the improv audition went really well. It was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, that second, we did it at the bowling alley in Toluca Lake. Yeah. And I remember thinking, how are they going to do this show? Because how they set it up was each character had a line that they needed to say to move the scene forward. And the line would come in, everybody's different lines would come in each take at different times. And I was always thinking, how are they going to edit this? Yeah. And then I watched the episode and it was like, holy shit. This is like, I couldn't believe it. Because I literally was sitting there going, okay, I said the line this time way at the end of this. I don't know. Ted Danson said his line before mine. I said it after. I was like, my head was spinning. But each time we did it without stopping. So they
kept going.
They got good takes. But my question was, Jesus Christ, the guy who edits this thing is, from another planet.
Yeah, and David Steinberg, I think, directed that episode.
He did. David Steinberg,
right? Legend.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And I used to always watch him on The Tonight Show, so that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool to be part of kind of two memorable episodes. Yeah. Late Seinfeld and early Curb. So you kind of had the, both sides of it. So back to Seinfeld. I mean, the scenes are great. I love when Jerry kind of knocks on your door, the whole thing with your wife. I mean, that was probably the most memorable part, at least for me. Your maid, it's my wife. I mean, it's just really funny. So I don't know how you held a straight face there, but
we did really.
Yeah. I mean, what do you remember about some of those scenes? You could tell, like you said, if you came on earlier, you would have been like kind of Kramer's buddy. I bet Kramer knew you all that time, right? You had that kind of thing with Kramer, and obviously the awkwardness with Jerry was kind of obviously what made it funny. But what do you remember most about that scene with your wife, if you will?
Well, yeah, it was. What I remember about it is that I would wait, okay, and action, and I'd wait and open the door. And, of course, I had to sort of be marked so we could open the door and they could see my wife,
Yeah.
And so, I tried all kinds of different takes. The one that they used was like total, how dare you? I think one take, I went, that's my wife, but the one take, one they used was like, how could you say that? It was just such, and everybody, it got a huge laugh and it, because listen, that show was written. I mean, it was like, it just was so funny. you didn't have to really work.
Right.
It just basically you could do it 3 times and try a couple of different ways. And I think that was probably the third take. And they love that, desperation. And so we did it again and moved on. It was pretty quick. We moved on pretty quick. Yeah.
Was that last cemetery when they're digging up the bird there, the parrot? Was that shot in front of the audience, or was that off somewhere? That was off.
No, we did that on the lot.
Yeah,
yeah,
we
shot it on the lot. So it just, and it was like to be able to like Ileana being there, and Jason ended up directing a Mike and Molly.
Oh, wow.
Vince Takes a Bath, which was a lead episode for me, and he did a hell of a job. Yeah, he did a hell of a job. He had to deal with a few. That's the thing when you come in and guest direct. There's a lot of people breathing down your neck.
Right.
And I think he handled it well. And if you get a chance to watch that episode, it's really funny.
Yeah, well, definitely. So that's interesting. Did that happen? Like, because Seinfeld's kind of a different, right? Kind of like a small knit. Ackerman, Sharonis. Yeah. Jason did one episode. I think Steinberg did another. Like, very rare that someone else directed. Did that happen a lot on other sitcoms where you had a lot of guest directors?
Mike and Molly, Jimmy Burrows did the first 3 seasons.
Yes.
And Jimmy after Cheers, he never really hangs around for more than a year. And he really enjoyed Mike and Molly, so he stayed 3. And then he took off, and we had people that would come in and do like 3 weeks in a row. And then somebody come in, Victor Gonzalez would come in and do a month. And then through that, David Traynor did a bunch of them, like a group of them. And then they, Jason met the producer, and they got on, and he came in and he did it. And it was nice to see him. His cousin lives in Buffalo, so he goes to Buffalo a lot. His cousin's a sports announcer in Buffalo.
Well, Lou, while we Buffalo, Anchor Bar or Duff's, which is the
how do you know? How do you know that? Just to be visit, just people.
My wife's uncle's from Buffalo, so
I'm a Duff's guy.
Okay.
But if you really want to know my all-time favorite, I'm from the South Side, and there's chicken wings from a joint called Smitty's. That's what I was raised.
Do you mention Smitty's and Eddie Brady's Tavern? You mentioned all this.
Yeah, and those are real joints. Those are all real joints. And so the people from Buffalo, that we got an Emmy nomination. Cooper's got an Emmy nomination.
Yeah.
Rhea Seehorn got one for Best Actress in a Short Form. The only thing with the short form, I don't get this with I understand it's a small category, but what does it take to just do 3 separate categories? Short form comedy, short form drama, short form variety. There's enough shows. Yeah, they put them all in one. So I heard we got nosed out in terms of a nomination by Carpool Karaoke. Which is fine, but it's not even. It's too different.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, so Lou, did you film that since you were big on the LA thing? Did you film that in New York? Where did you film?
No, in LA. When I did Mike and Molly, I got a stipend to move while we were shooting, and I rented this place, and I ended up becoming very good friends with the guy and his wife, and because they have the backyard was kind of a mess, and like I fixed the backyard up and everything. So I still keep this place because it's crazy not to. It's like the perfect tax write-off. It's like, I hope nobody from the IRS is listening, but it's the perfect it's great. So we filmed that in our backyard.
That's real then. That's not a set. That's really the bar that you built. But that's incredible.
Yeah. But now I hope we carry on with this thing. If we do, it'll be enough where they're going to have to recreate it somewhere because they won't give us the permits for that long of a period of time. Maybe a day here and a day there. The other funny story that just came to me, I don't know, when that week I worked on Seinfeld, is Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in the Woody Allen movie, I believe, Deconstructing Harry. Is that correct? I think she is.
That sounds right to me, yeah.
So she was talking about it with Ileana, and we were just kind of standing there with coffee. And she was telling the story, and I mean, we've fallen over laughing because Woody Allen, I guess, does not send out the script. He offers you the role, and you either say yes or no. He doesn't even tell you who you're playing. It's just, do you want to be in Woody Allen's next movie, yes or no? And she was like, well, I'd like to at least find out what I'm doing. Doesn't do it, unless you're the lead or something. Do you want to do it? So her agent finally called her and said, oh, come on. It's a Woody Allen movie. What do you think it's going to be? Like, you giving somebody a blowjob? And she gets the script, and it's her giving somebody a blowjob. And if you watch the movie, Richard Benjamin is standing there going, and she comes up into the frame. We were laughing so hard. And I thought, it was like one of the funniest show business stories I've ever heard in my life.
That is great.
Yeah. So,
oh my
but
God.
I got to tell you, what a talent. Man, is she good.
Yeah. I mean, incredible.
And she could did you ever see the movie she did with Jimmy Gandolfini?
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh,
no, I know which one you're talking about. I haven't brought myself to watch it because I feel sad.
She can do anything.
Yeah.
She can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to get there. I mean, you just mentioned, James. I know you had a great role in The Sopranos. With Tony Sirico recently passing, and you had such a great role, Salvitro. I mean, you're blessed to work. I mean, you get Larry David and David Chase, two of the greats from that era.
Very fortunate in that way. And you know what? They're both. It's the thing is, the similarity with great people like that is their vision as what they, in terms of what they want to do. Doesn't matter if it's comedy or whatever. Drama is so specific and they know how to execute it. And I go back to the Curb thing, I mean, it's been going on how many years now? And that's how they do it. They piece that together, and it's just brilliant. It's amazing to me. But I got to tell you, and Jerry ended up hiring me again when he was doing these American Express commercials. With Barry Levinson. And he hired me again as this maitre d' who seats Superman. I don't know. I think they were commercials for online. I never saw them on TV. But that was interesting, too. And we did it at a place that I hung out in New York called McHale's. Yeah.
McHale's. Oh, is that on like 44th and 8th up there?
46 and 8th. Yeah, they ripped down that whole corner and it's gone, Hell's Kitchen is not, it's not what it used to be. I'll tell you that.
Right.
There's a wonderful stage actor, film actor, a guy named Reg Rogers. I did a play with him in the fall. Guy's a brilliant actor. But after we got done working one night, we had a drink and we were talking about everywhere in Hell's Kitchen that's gone. And it was mine, because he would think of one and then I'd go, yeah, what? And then I think of one. I think it was like 10 minutes of places that are gone, sad.
Tobacco Road wasn't Tobacco. Yeah, Tobacco Road, I think was. That was a crazy place, man.
Oh, man, there was Tin Pan Alley, there was Barry's, there was Barrymore's. I mean, the list just goes on and on, and Reg just kept coming up with new ones. And I was like, that's right. Jeez, La Strada. I mean, it just goes on and on. But I'm up in Harlem now. 20 years ago, my wife and I came up. We went up to East Harlem on Madison Avenue, right by this Marcus Garvey Park. And I like it up here. It's nice. It's quiet. I mean, Madison Avenue is sort of this, there's no real businesses on it. It's just sort of, so it's not bad. And I could walk west or east, and there's things to do. I go over and have a drink at Rayo's every now and then.
There you go.
Oh, yeah?
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, you can't sit down and eat, but it's a trip to go in there and have a drink.
Yeah. Just drop Jerry's name. He'll get you.
Oh yeah.
So a guy from Buffalo, right, makes his way down to the city. How young were you when you kind of went to New York?
I don't mean to sound like some sort of like Bugsby Berkeley, movie, but I moved to New York in 1981. I was 22. I had $600 in my pocket, and I got accepted to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I checked into the Sloan House YMCA on 9th Avenue and 34th Street, which was, I stayed there a little too long, because I was just having a hard time. I was couch surfing, and then I moved back into the place and everything, and I finally got my first apartment. You know the actor Elias Koteas? Wonderful. You would have been in a wonderful, wonderful actor. Ton of movies. You would know him in a second when you saw him. And great guy. And he's Greek. And he said, listen, there's this apartment I saw in the Greek newspaper. I'm not going to take it. I found another place. But go there and tell them you're Greek. So I went, I told them I was Greek, and they asked me a few questions about, like, what's your favorite food? And I think I said moussaka or something. And they said, sure. And I got the apartment.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. But the Y was one of the craziest places. There was this guy that lived on my floor who was a nice guy. One day I dropped my shirt in the laundry, he knocked on my door. He wore those teddy boy suits and stuff. And one night he told me that some guy owed him money, and he was going to take care of the guy. And he flashed like this little sort of small pocket gun, and I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, how much is the watch worth? I mean, yeah, man, I'm from Texas, and you don't mess with me, man. Because so I was like, after that, I'd see the guy and kind of like, and about a month later, I'm coming back from school. There's about 13 FBI cars in front of the Y. The guy was wanted for 2 murders.
Oh my God. That's wild.
And he come out with like the handcuffs on and everything. And I think he waved to me or something. Like I had to duck, But but it was a trip. And then I got I got that apartment in Hell's Kitchen, and I kept it for the longest time. And then, we saw this building up here, and we needed a little more space, and we came up here.
Yeah, we talked to Vianne Cox, who lives in Hell's Kitchen now, I believe. She played Toby in Seinfeld. But it's just it's so great hearing these stories, and we've heard some great stories from some of our guest stars about how great the season wrap parties are on Seinfeld. And I know, you were there for season 9. Were you able to go to the wrap party? How'd that all go down?
They were the only show I've ever been on that invites the guest stars to the wrap party. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really?
Yeah. Nice. I was wondering if that was normal, because we hear it a lot from guest stars. Yeah. I've never been on a show in my life that they invite me to. I've recurred on shows, and they don't invite you to the wrap party. Oh, that's great.
So it was great. And the girl I was dating at the time, we went. She was a big fan, and we were sitting on the set. We were in the living room, and everybody came up and said hi, and and I knew a few of the people that were on the show that year. Right. Ileana, and Ileana showed up, and Steve Heitner was there.
Oh yeah,
and
Tanya.
Yeah, Steve and I did a movie in Cabo San Lucas, And it was our last day of shooting. The night before was all the Christmas parties. It was like about December 21st. The movie was wrapping up like the 23rd. And it was our last day. And all we had to do on our last day, I played this like thug hitman. He played this FBI guy. And all he had to do was like handcuff me and throw me in a car. That's all we had to do. So we decided to go to these Christmas parties, and they all knew we were in the film. So the tequila started going, and well, the next day it was about 900 degrees out, and like we're in sport coats and shit. We had a 6 o'clock call, and this older character actor named Richard Bradford. He used to live with Jack Nicholson. Really interesting, colorful guy. And this was the third time I worked with him, and I walked up and he said, "You look like shit." and me and Steve were dying. We were just like, oh God. So we're thinking, hey man, I said to Richard, we're going to get out of here. All we got is this. She goes, think again. They got Jeeps that are going to come over the thing. They got a crazy. We were there all day. The worst hangover I've ever had in my life. And I would never have done that if I had lines. I had no lines. I thought I could go to these parties. I got no lines. I mean, I could have somebody put handcuffs on me and put me in a car. We were there, and I'll never forget it. Me and Steve would look at each other and just go like, yeah. But that's my Steve Heitner story. I like him. He's a sweet guy. Yeah,
he's Greg, and he's also been an FBI agent in the Line of Fire. Maybe that's his thing.
That's it. He was great in that.
Yeah,
Eastwood. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. So yeah, I mean the drinking. So tell us a little bit about how the whole process with is it Rhea? I'm drawing a blank on her. Rhea
Seehorn.
Rhea
Seehorn. So you talked about it. You hope it gets picked up again. So I watched the finale and I kind of got left like wanting more.
It seems like a bit of a cliffhanger.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I love the eating the wings thing. I mean, hilarious. Like it was like you were like Rocky Balboa, you know?
Well, what it was there. I stay in Atwater. Where are you guys? You guys East LA or West?
No, we're in the East Coast. We're in New York, New Jersey.
Oh, we're
outside the city. Yeah.
Okay, so I live in Atwater there, which is like Atwater, Silver Lake sort of area, and there was this workout class very close to my house that I saw online, so I went, and it was great. It was in this big, huge gym, a lot of room, nice people. So 4 days a week, I would go to this workout, you know, and it was good. I mean, a lot of adjustments. You weren't killing yourself. It was a good workout. And Ray was in the class. This guy, David Connolly, who's a writer, his wife, Hannah, who's a producer. We all got to know each other in this class. And, you know, like months later, we were still, you know, hey, good morning. You want to go get a cup of coffee? We started to hang out a little bit. So one night I said, listen, I'm having a wine tasting at my backyard. Why don't you guys come? So they came. And whenever I had any time, I would be stringing lights and shit. And it was just basically to kind of, I never had a backyard in my life. So it was a big deal for me, you know? So I go back, I turn the lights on, and they go like, holy shit. You know, because and David kept saying, we got to do something. We got to do something back here. We got to do something. And first of all, he was talking, you know, we should do like a talk show thing with wine. I said, I'm not going to do a talk show thing. You know, like where I'm going to pour the wine, like, all right, well, tell me about when you first got into show. I'm not going to do it. Okay, so I said, if you come up with a script and, you know, we can get enough money to get a small crew and film it, I'm in. And Ray said the same thing. I'll do it. So he come back with a script, and I called a friend of mine, Casey Washington. I said, listen, you want to do this? It's one night. We'll be working from 5 in the afternoon to 5 in the morning. Sure. So we get this cast together. We do it. And sent it out to a few festivals. It got accepted to Sundance and South by Southwest. And this guy, Evan Shapiro, who used to work for National Lampoon, he saw it. And then another person saw it. And then AMC saw it and said, we want to give you guys money to do more. And that's how it happened.
Wow.
So they gave us money to do more, and we wrote 5 more. They wanted to just reshoot the pilot. They didn't give us any notes, which was beautiful. They didn't say, don't change anything. We wanted, in terms of continuity, the same style as the other episodes. Right. And we had more money for a better crew. And not a better crew, it was the same crew, but a better camera, better lighting, blah, blah, blah. So we did 6 episodes in 6 days. And they let us know recently that it's gotten between 3.5 million and 4 million hits.
Wow.
So
that's impressive, man.
Seriously. I hope we carry on with it. And with the Emmy nomination with her, I think, as hot as she is now, and I can't tell you what a great actor she is and a great person. And hopefully we'll do a few more.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Her keeling over it in that last episode was hilarious.
Guys, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that you guys dug it. I really do, because, I mean, you guys know comedy, and it really makes my day that you guys enjoyed it. And I can tell you enjoyed it because I've been bullshitted enough in my life. And I know when somebody doesn't like it and they say shit like, oh, yeah, man, your yard is crazy. Like you guys are pointing out things that happen.
No, the kid that plays the influencer guy, he's great too. The kid you got to play that influencer guy is good.
I can't thank you enough because, believe me, all the years of doing theater, you walk out and you just know when somebody starts talking about the lighting that they don't, wow, the lighting. Who lit that? What the fuck are you talking about? I was up on stage for an hour and a half. What do you mean who lit it? One time I did this play. I swear to God, this was the worst play in the history of theater. It was this woman from Pittsburgh who was worth millions and millions and fancied herself as a playwright and writes this shitty play. And of course, you're starving to death. You'll take any. And it just got worse. And they brought in a new director, but Jose Ferrer's son, Rafi, who went on to be one of the great voiceover actors in Hollywood. He's done so much. Left regular acting and just makes a ton doing. So Rafi and I, we're in this. It's horrible, but he said, "My dad's here tonight. Do you want to go to dinner with us?" I've told him all about you. And I said, "Sure." Well, come on, we're going to go over and meet him. He's at Chez Josephine on 42nd. So we walk in. There's Jose Ferrer. He's got the ascot on. I mean, everybody's coming up and kissing his ring, and and a very noble looking guy. And he comes up and he stands up and he says hello to us. Rob, kisses Rob. We sit down. He's got a beautiful bottle of wine, and he says, "Rafi, Louis, it was the worst night I have ever spent in the theater. But neither of you embarrassed yourselves." I said, "I'll take it. What the fuck? I'll take it."
Oh my God.
Hey, that's a buffalo thick skin,
Yeah.
I mean, what's great about the show also, Lou, is, you're always wanting more. And I like the kind of the short episodes,
it makes it fun to watch. It's just, gets to the point.
And if need be, they're written in a way that if they want to edit it together and make it a half hour, it's very easy to do. I mean, we watched it as a half hour, and there was absolutely you wouldn't know that it was.
Yeah. I can see that because they kind of take off right after the next one, and it's edited. Yeah, that makes
All
sense.
right, Lou. Before we let you go, I'm assuming you're a Bills fan.
Yeah.
Who's your guy? Who's your ultimate Bill? Don't say OJ.
Oh Jesus, are you kidding me? My favorite Bill over the years, Thurman Thomas. I loved, and Joe Ferguson. Remember Joe Ferguson in the 70s? I loved him as he was a great quarterback, and I worked at this restaurant where the Bills hung out, and he was the nicest guy in the world. But there's Josh Allen is wonderful. That Kansas City game was just insane. I couldn't believe it. It was so ridiculous. First of all, from what I understand, I'm going to make this quick. From what I understand, and I know guys that are close to that organization there, is somehow the word didn't get down to the kicker to line drive it. They wanted him to line drive it.
13 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, that knocks off 4 or 5 seconds, right? So line drive it, let the guy have to grab it, on a bounce or whatever, and you knock off at least 4 seconds, right? He kicks it away. But my question is, as the kicker, why don't you walk up to somebody and say, do you really want me to kick it away?
Yeah.
And at that point, they would go, no. Didn't you get the memo? I mean, so that I was sitting there thinking to myself, what the fuck is he kicking?
Buffalo with their kickers, man. It's a tough.
Oh yeah,
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But hey, Lou, thanks so much for taking a trip down memory lane with us. Best of luck with Cooper's Bar. Great show. And
everyone, watch Cooper's Bar, AMC.
And then you as Phil, forget about it.
And I didn't know you guys were on the East Coast, so I'll email. You got to come into Harlem and go to this little pizzeria that I go with. We'll have a pizza and a beer.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Sounds
done
good.
and done.
All right. You guys were great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a great night.
Take care.